There is no more time to delay. I cannot put it off for another minute. I have a hard stop here in an hour, let's say in 25 minutes. So I'm going to run through this episode. I had an extra coffee and I am ready to go. Welcome back, Artist Journal, Monday, January 22nd, 2024, broadcasting from deep, deep in the inferno here. I am on Circle 8, Bulge 4, which is a ditch deep in hell. It is dramatic. It is incredible. But let's not get off topic. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Welcome back, and thank you for the massive, massive response the other day. Is this the long version? That's hilarious, because it's a good thing we don't have the long version of that track every day. Otherwise, I'd probably talk for a minute and a half as it wound down. Anyways, welcome back. Look at this fantastic work here. I'm sure a lot of you saw it. It definitely was a head turner. So this is Element Lee, if you've never heard before. This is Element Lee, and Element Lee is a pixel artist, experimental, as far as I remember the description on Object, experimental pixel artist that uses a smartphone. And so this is quite significant, I think, what we're seeing here, because we're seeing some of Element Lee's experimental pixel art, as you'll see here. But of course, as you can see, it is physical. It is on a piece of cardboard, interestingly, which has a couple of things to say about that. Laser engraving, and it's quite powerful. I'll show you the tweet in a second, but I just want us to get the full effect, and actually quite an interesting decision in the sense that you can see how it works. You can see how it works in the sense that the part of the cardboard that is burnt out, engraved or, laser, so you assume it's being burnt out, it turns dark because of the light and also just because of the inside, the nature of cardboard, the inside of the cardboard. So, you see how powerful it is that it can get every little pixel here. Really brilliantly done. I'm also really kind of excited by how you can just burn a little bit. You can do like different, it's not an on-off switch. It is how much burning do you want? I assume you leave it on longer, right? And they have this here in Berlin. Just at the art supply store, the really big ones, it's modular. For those that are watching from Berlin, modular at Moritzplatz, they have like a whole kind of little area with windows and looks like a counter where you can do your laser engraving. I think that's what they call it. So, makes you, so seeing this, because one thing is to do it on just any piece of material. This is quite brilliant, and it evokes a lot of things, primarily Rauschenberg, which we're going to look at in a second here. But as you can see, just super interesting work. And, just on the point of the cardboard, though, you see how, first it's a mass-produced object, so there's something kind of inherently, both universal and pop about it. Right? Because it's something that we all deal with. If you've ever had a package shipped to your home, it is in cardboard. We're all deeply familiar with it. Plus, you get all of the random things that happen with a piece of cardboard. Of course, this was folded up. You get all this detail. And that also becomes a kind of canvas of sorts. It's kind of like a first layer, a ready-made first layer that you're working from, which oftentimes, a texture, which will kind of give, and that texture puns, basically, or overlaps with the image itself that you're working on. And isn't it interesting there? It's so dark. It almost looks like it's marker on top, but it's not. I think it's extra deep, laser engraving, and you just see how powerful it is here. And what's also beautiful about it, just finally on this, as we run through this episode once again, so you have, and again, this is back to the traveling through the mediums. You have on the digital, screen, you have a perfect square. You give it to the, laser engraver, or maybe you have your own, however it works. Let's say you hand it over the counter, you get it back. You're not going to get a perfect square because now you're dealing with material reality. So you get this, as I like to call it, an alchemical transformation, because all of a sudden The pixel is no longer just a pixel. It is something different. It has transformed. It is something different. And again, you also get, even though it's this, quote unquote cheap material of cardboard, all of a sudden this work of art is invested with new preciousness. So just a really interesting work. Interesting choice, I might add, of image. Element Lee has so many brilliant images, which we've been looking at for, I think, over a year now. Just such an interesting artist, making it look easy by what's being left out and by stopping at certain points. To a certain degree, we could call Element Lee's images raw within our earlier discussion. And look at how kind of wonderfully, it's not too big. I mean, this is like a regular cardboard box, 66 by 84. It's not tiny. At the door, laser engraving on cardboard, module and free edge. So not exactly sure what that means. We have a couple of more pictures here. So just kind of up close and personal here, as you can see. And again, the randomness of physical reality, which is something else we've commented on over the last few months. You see in action here underneath in the areas that have been removed by the laser engraving, that top layer of cardboard. So very just super interesting here. I mean, again, for me, this could be at a museum. And if I didn't know anything about Element Lee and then I walked into, Hamburger Bahnhof here, the Contemporary Art Museum, or the Neue Nationalgalerie, which is probably like the 20th century, let's call it, late 19th, if that. It's mostly 20th century there. If you had this in a special exhibition or just on the wall, I'd go, wow, this is pretty contemporary. This is really cool. This is Element Lee. This is Element Lee, our friend from the scene here. So just very exciting. Cardboard as a medium, as you saw there, especially using it in this way. Now, a lot of people have used it. Probably Rauschenberg, as far as I understand, is probably the first. I mean, or maybe there are others before, but we might say most famously the earliest. As you see here, this was a whole series, 1971-72, the great Robert Rauschenberg here. And you see, most of you who have been to, who go to museums will be familiar with one of these works here that you've seen, quite, similar here, but done in a completely different way with Element Lee. But that's also part of what's cool about what Element Lee is doing, is it also references back, I'd argue, intentionally or not, to the tradition. And it goes, if Robert Rauschenberg can do it, I can do it, but I'm going to do it in a different way. Right? So I can also use cardboard and I'm going to use it my way. And in a sense, it becomes part of the conversation and it grounds it within the tradition. Again, so then if I show up at the Hamburger Bahnhof here and I see it and I go, okay, that makes sense to be here. This doesn't look foreign. This looks like it belongs to the conversation. And probably 50% of the people going to Hamburger Bahnhof are going to know the Rauschenberg reference. Even whether it's intentional or not by Element Lee. And they're going to see it within that lens and giving it more meaning. So the importance of being historical. Here's some more brilliant experimentation, playing with wood, laser engraving on wood corners. So Element Lee drops a few real stunners here as far as just pushing the boundaries here. Again, it all looks obvious in retrospect, doesn't it? It's like, oh, of course I should be doing that if I'm a pixel artist, right? But until someone does it, it's not so obvious. And, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody do this before. So super duper interesting from Element Lee. So watch that space. Thank you to Ed, EDD, who doesn't have a Twitter hooked up, or they do, but it doesn't link. So I just put the name there on Twitter. Thank you for picking up Oceans Apart, a new addition to the pixel art sketchbook. I love the colors in this. I was really enjoying it. Just a screenshot of the Drudge Report with a beautiful ad there. So again, Oceans Apart, kind of for me, it was kind of punning a little bit on the ad and the news also. But of course, that's the name of the ad. Let's look at comments here. May have to go back one. So actually, this is from a couple of days ago that I missed. And let me just make this slightly smaller here. There were a couple of comments just on Pixel Lord's comment there, who's doing very well Unfortunately, like it was actually on the front page of Magic Eden. Pixel Lord's uh, uh, were they bit nodes or nodes? They were called something. We'll come back to them, Pixel Lord. But they were on the front page, Pixel Lord series there of Magic Eden. So that was pretty awesome. It was like in the top 8 collections. I just saw this morning. It disappeared. Otherwise, I would have showed it. Santiago Isacodal responding to Pixel Lord of how Bitcoin Ordinals is giving 2021 ETH NFT vibes. Santiago Isacodal, art on Bitcoin has existed for more than a decade. Reducing its rich history and diversity under the ordinals term is a mistake. Ordinals have become ordinary. So a skeptic here, Santiago Isacodal, and I think it's this Friday night, I'll actually be on Santiago Isacodal's show. And so that is interesting. So skeptic here, in 2021 vibes are also people thinking they've invented something new. Well, in reality, it's just ephemeral hype around something has been built through for years. Now, I wouldn't mind to know, and maybe I'll ask Santiago on his show, I wouldn't mind knowing exactly what he's talking about. Like, is he talking about counterparty? Because that is, my impression is that's kind of a layer 2 on Bitcoin, whereas ordinals are right on Bitcoin. So I'm just kind of curious for more details on that. The hype is real. I mean, there's no question. The hype on ordinals and on Bitcoin, I mean, you're starting to see it in the main crypto space. Bitcoin layer 2s as a narrative. Bitcoin seems to be one of the main narratives that are developing here in the whole crypto space. And so, again, it's one of those watch this space. It's kind of on the radar, front and center here. False narratives are being pushed by speculators that know how the masses behaved. It may be harmless if one just wants to experience the fashionable trends, but if one truly respects history, techniques, aesthetics, and the philosophy that have been developed, one cannot have the luxury to be so nearsighted. So just an interesting skeptical point of view, and I welcome all points of view here in a Socratic spirit of getting to the reality. So thank you, Santiago Isacodal, for the heartfelt comments here. Let's continue. So last show, which kind of did spectacularly well on Twitter there. Big thank you again. I wasn't expecting that. It felt like it kind of broke through to a certain degree. Kind of like this show has been a thing for a little bit, let's say, in the Tezos ecosystem. Felt like it was starting to break through beyond this weekend, just based on the notifications I was getting and the response, which usually the Friday show is kind of a quieter show. So that was really great. So thank you, everybody, for supporting that, for retweeting it. And also Unknown Collector, I think, putting out a tweet about an upcoming interview in February that we're going to do, that I'm going to be on his space that he does there. So I think with Click Create, I believe, is the show. I'll fill you in with the details. Let's continue here because we do have to run. Liquid Mind Art, thank you so much, Adrian, for highlighting my art amongst so many magnificent artists. Grateful forever. This looks like Luciana Guerra, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, awesome art. That yellow and kind of yellow background with the what looked like black and white, kind of charcoalish pencil drawings in the middle. Beautiful. Human Boy, awesome episode. I saw a post from Ed saying Ratinho is the same person as Pixel Girl's NFT and that they are friends for a long time. Well, I would have guessed it was Ed, so maybe it's another person. The mystery continues on that one. Thank you for the comment. Morte Spiral, cool episode. Luciana, the best abstract painter in the scene. So let the battle begin. Let the battle begin. Great painter here. There's a lot of great abstract painters in this scene. It's a very exciting scene, increasingly so with every passing day. Just discovered via Unknown Collector. There we are. Well done. Thank you, Unknown Collector, and thank you, Wizpill. Yeah, Unknown Collector sent we got a few subs thanks to UC there. So that was awesome. Moda MT, thanks for the mention. Really honored. My pleasure. That was very cool. Interesting. Heartfelt painting, I could tell, as many were in the past. Heck, you really ought to link up with Ken Consumer in Berlin to experiment with plotters. So thank you for that. So not only do I need to go to the laser engraver, but I think I'll leave the laser engraver for a very long time here. We'll let Element Lee bathe in the innovation Let's see what Element Lee does. This is great, though, because I do want to experiment with plotters a lot. So Ken Consumer, I'll look him up. Thank you for the comment. Tom Bombattle, great to hear from you. And Retro Manny, first comment. Well, you beat Rata this episode, Manny. So anyways, great to hear from you. And again, 17,000, big show, 65 retweets. This one went far. So thank you once again to everybody here, and David here, Kyle Flemmer, epic episode. Thanks for Gone Basin in the glitch column today. You're welcome, Chepperton. Thanks for the feedback on my take about ordinals, because of course that was the whole Bitcoin discussion. Would be glad to discuss with you in real life someday. Definitely. I love the work you put in these episodes. Keep making this journey singular and refreshing. Well, thank you for the wonderful comment, and if you are ever in Berlin, do drop me a line. Maybe you already are. If you are, I'd happily go. Custom Horror, having to go and join your show right now for the first time. Great energy. See a few new viewers here, so welcome to new viewers here. Thank you, Custom Horror. Cider, thank you for the feature once again. Great to hear from you, Cider, and beautiful work as ever. Battle, thank you. And Strano, massive thanks. Uncertain Gaze, Gozo, check it out. And here's actually important information. The piece itself is not the GIF display, though. This is a projection of the piece on a custom frame. So maybe this is the piece, if I'm understanding this correctly from Strano. Interesting. And Martin Joe, feeling the ordinals FOMO. Thanks for showing the GN Bear. This series is not minted yet. I was wondering, but maybe soon. Yeah, I think you should definitely mint that, Martin. It's very cool. Thank you, Siberia. Lily Illo, thanks for showing my work. And my son's drawing from when he was 4. He loved the Gruffalo so much. I would paint, and he and his sister would draw next to me. Simple, sweet times and simple, sweet lines. Beautifully put, and yeah, I feel ya. Kel's, great stuff. Tons of beautiful pieces. Love the thoughts on Chepperton's comment and agree, but had no idea about your your show, as well as being full of value and positive energy, can be rather frightening. AI figures out how to decrypt it. Yeah, normally AI figure. Yeah, I mean that is who knows, right? Normally I sleep with a babe after listening to you. That's hilarious. Well, if you have a lot invested on Bitcoin or in ordinals, it is high risk. I mean, let's face it. So thank you, everybody. Michael Angel Cox. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you for the nice comments. Dance Avatar. Everybody. Thank you, Sergey. And thank you, Jake Studios actually left a post just with the thank you there, who we started with. So that was awesome, too. Lone Wick. Just a comment here on the scene. I'm incredibly grateful for the like-minded and differently minded artists I've had the privilege to become friends with in this space. I feel a real sense of love in the GM's art and insight shared every day. This is something not to underestimate, and I would say is, fairly untypical of, modern day art scenes. I mean, you can make great friends and everything, but just overall as a scene, for all of the, sometimes the dark side of this sort of thing, I find it, I'm with Lone Wick. I find this scene remarkably positive. Actually, for all the reputation that X has as kind of a sewer of communication, I don't see it here at all. Frankly, like maybe here and there, but not really. It's overall, I totally agree with this comment here. It feels weird admitting that a piece of social media is actually worthwhile, but it is what it is. I agree with your observation, Lone Wick. Tukes, I've minted my artwork on the blockchain. Of course, Tukes has been around. Tukes is an artist, like, frankly, many of us who's been making art before the blockchain, digital art before, or at least being aware of the blockchain. And it's sort of like Haiti Rocket there. I've minted my work on the blockchain, ensuring it lasts indefinitely. My hope is to preserve all links and metadata so my art lives on even after I'm gone. Like the blockchain is such a boon, you might say, or such a bounty for digital artists. Like it was a real issue before the blockchain. And here Tukes is saying, I can put all my work on there, on the blockchain, manage it myself, basically, put all the data I want, and it basically lives on after I'm gone. This is why it's such an exciting technology and why it's not going to fade, one thinks. This is my main goal and why I'll continue minting without hesitation. And I kind of read between the lines here that says, like, whether things sell or not, like I'm minting. This is about, Tukes is playing the big game. He's playing for all the marbles. He's, as Burroughs would say, the whole. This time we want the whole tamale. He's going for the whole tamale here. Okay. Again, playing the big game. So, this is more than about a sale here, a sale there. This is about putting the work and inscribing it and preserving it for as long as possible. I was going to say for all time, but for as long as we possibly can here. OMZ, some would have you believe the consensus among a few thousand people, mostly crypto traders, driven by influential social media accounts social media accounts will determine the future value of art created in this space. It's up to you to decide whether you agree with them. So, again, taking the big picture here, OMZ with another very interesting comment, which is time. It's a topic we've kind of come back to over and over, which many of you already know, that time is the ultimate judge, not the market. So so OMZ saying what may be popular now may not be the thing that's popular in 50 years or in 20 years. So just an important and nicely worded comment there. Now, this was interesting too. And this was just an interesting post from welcome.jpg. It's a pretty huge account. And I thought this was just interesting within just in ideas of influence, and I just found it surprising. Normally, I wouldn't even cover this, but we have another contemporary art thing coming up, and so in the next tab, I think. So this is Damien Hirst in 2000, and then this account here, welcome.jpg, is comparing how Damien Hirst. Actually, let me go to the start of all the similarities. Thomas Downing, Damien, 1969, 2004. So just all of these. And, some are more distant than others. I mean, I don't know how John Le Carre, Eddie Saunders here, and they're all different artists. And here, I mean, in art, there is going to be a certain amount of similarity. But when you look here, again, hard to say, this one especially, and you've seen this artist in it earlier, it does make you wonder. And the reason I'm showing this is because I think it demonstrates that it's kind of back to that market thing that OMZ was mentioning. Just because Damien Hirst has done really well in the market doesn't necessarily mean that time will treat it the same way in 50 years, especially if this becomes, more and more known or felt that there is an association. And I think it's completely debatable because there's so many artists now, you could argue it's all been done, so anybody doing anything might look like someone else, right? So, having the charity of interpretation and giving people the benefit of the doubt. Nevertheless, I mean, you look here too, all interesting. And again, it goes back to a super early episode that we did here, looking at the social media accounts of like Gagosian and Pace. And that was a hilarious episode. And looking at how the engagement wasn't matching up with, and all to say, it's a bit of a smoke and mirrors out there. So go with skepticism. Don't just, accept everything you're told about, who is supposed to be the most important thing. Kind of echoing what OMZ is saying, and Curio Fringe has made that point. You have to think for yourself. This is interesting. Empress Trash. Ai Weiwei follows Empress Trash. Everything comes full circle and received ultimate validation in my journey today. And so this is interesting as well, because if you've been watching this show, you'll remember maybe 6 weeks ago, Ai Weiwei, maybe it was at December 6th at the Art Basel Miami Beach. I think it was there, where Ai Weiwei, it didn't get a ton of press, but he did some image. I think it was like a historical painting, but it was dithered. And then we saw also, I think actually Heck sent this to me. Then there was some pixelated stuff from like a magazine kind of zine thing that he had done or contributed to that showed these pixelated. I have a sense or a suspicion that Ai Weiwei is actually paying attention to this scene. And I think I had already had that sort of thought. And Empress Trash being followed kind of echoes, it's more circumstantial evidence, we could say. And I'm not, in a weird way, I'm not at all surprised, because I would argue and it's just one opinion here. I would argue it is the main actually thing going on in the visual arts right now, just from my perspective here, and for whatever biases or lack of judgment or judgment I may or may not have. It is the most important thing going on, the most significant. It's the most where all the innovation's happening. I mean, again, it's very impressive what I'm seeing on Instagram. And I highlighted almost every show at the end, what we're seeing on Instagram with contemporary painters. But it's getting really hard to push the boundaries without adopting the technology. And so the technology is in the digital right now. And so I'm not surprised. Like, this is just more circumstantial evidence. It's sort of like, again, screen printing when it became a thing. All of a sudden, that became the thing to a certain degree, at least with Warhol and Rauschenberg and a few others, right? So all to say, it shows that the technology is, it's inherent in the progress of art. Like, it is a part of that journey, is what I'm trying to say here on this wonderful Monday morning here. So Empress Trash, so that is cool and interesting. Also from Empress Trash, you're in deep when you're spending your Friday night inscribing your first ordinal yourself on Gamma. To celebrate no censorship, I got sexy with it. Details next week of sale. And here is the work. So putting work on ordinals here from Empress Trash. Sabato also. Now, this is an older Sabato, but Sabato tweeted this out on Friday. I thought this was a new one, but it turns out this is from way back in February 18th. So a early ordinal here from Sabato. And I can't remember what the name, it's like Ordinal Gremlin. I should have brought up the tweet here, but just a spectacular work here. It is 68,000 bytes. So about 68 kilobytes here. Remember, Uxines was 100 kilobytes. So I'm going to do some more experiments here. You see, this is on Ordinal's wallet. I minted on Magic Eden. I wonder if it's cheaper and better here on Ordinal's wallet. So I'm going to do some tests here pretty soon. Also, a great weekend here for Sabato with Vincent Van Doe picking up a whole bunch of drawing exercises from Sabato for like 80 Tezos, around that much, and a whole bunch. So nice work for Sabato, bringing in 800 volume on the last 24 hours on the drawing exercises. So that is very cool. Patrick Amadon, a multi-chain ecosystem is a healthy ecosystem for artists. An art career is volatile enough without doubling down on the volatility of a single currency. So something that really we've been saying here since the beginning of the show is multi-chain, multimedia, multi-platform, and indeed, and as made the point many times, there are different collectors, as people who are on Solana right now are discovering. Different people are collecting your work. So there is a incentive and it's almost back to that idea of being a decentralized artist, right? By not being on one chain, you're kind of creating resilience for your own work. Just another vote, you might say, in that direction from Patrick Amadon. Zora, another interesting, I guess, a layer 2 on Ethereum. Things you can, I was watching, airdrops are all the thing right now. Someone, one of these accounts that are like trying to find the alpha, they think Zora could be a potential airdrop candidate. I thought that was interesting. I never thought of that because I don't think they have a token, as we mentioned before. So a little more alpha there for what that's worth. I don't know. Things you can do in less than a minute on Zora. Text your mom, retweet this, or this. It used to be a week. So now, and I brought it up here, it used to be a week. I haven't tested this out, but now it looks like they've got it down to a minute on Zora. So they keep iterating and improving over there, which just continues to impress. So that is exciting and just cool. Dania, let's glitch it. So we've been looking at these cameras that Dania has been mating at Let's Glitch It. And here is a kind of a info flyer of sorts here. Circuit bent photography, glitch art on the go. And so this is what's going on here. What is circuit bending? Which is a glitch technique, as we learned few hundred episodes or more ago. Circuit bending is the act of soldering new connections in consumer electronics in ways unintended by the manufacturers, typically producing glitchy effects. How cool is that? So literally opening up the camera, I guess, and soldering, creating metallic connections between new areas of the camera. What's it good for? So okay, so this goes into more details, but it basically creates that glitch. So they're $125 each plus shipping. Pretty good deal, or crypto equivalent. Pretty cool here. And here is an example of the glitch camera here. I like the style of cameras they are too. It's almost like these kids' cameras. We'll see if it plays. As with any sort of photography, circuit bent photography is aided by an understanding of light. Let me just quickly go to the phone for internet here. At this point in the show, I have created backup plans. It could be just the computer itself is starting to... I almost need a new computer. It's starting to slow down, as you can see here. Let's see if we can get this working. There we go. All right. So as you see, going through the snow, so just very cool. Here is another example, a few different photo modes that you can. So all very impressive, isn't it? All very, very impressive. I wonder if I assume the camera function works where you can actually take the picture. So even cooler. Kit Velo, a separate situation here, dissolving realities with Professor Oblivion tonight. So seemingly, this is also a very interesting technique. Again, kind of a traveling through the mediums type situation here, where it looks like the camera is taking a picture of the projector screen, right? Or whatever's projected on the wall. Then you take a picture and then you get another result. So very interesting from Kit Velo here, experimentation. Also on the visual front here, so the Pro Max Ultra, the Apple Vision Pro is coming out, and here we get a notification here from Uxine for this massively expensive. It's not, as someone pointed out, it's like the amount for a laptop. So, a nice laptop, $3,500, a very nice Apple Mac laptop. Nevertheless, it isn't insane. But no, I won't be buying one anytime soon. But just something to note here as we discuss technology and where things might be going. Also, just an interesting, so Strano, pen plotting meche for my amigo Sabato. So Strano doing what looks like pen plotting, doesn't it? And there is a work for Sabato. So, and it's going to be sent to Sabato. Gain a physical piece and my heart is full. So just very interesting to see that at work. And a big congratulations and happy birthday, happy Tezos birthday to the Kurt Hustle Collective, 2 years on the hustle. J&K and Terry, today we're celebrating not 1, not 3, but 2 years of Kurt Hustle. Take this cake to celebrate and take the night off watching 2 years of work over at kurthustle.tv. Huge thanks to all our collectors, big love and all that from J&K and Terry at KHC. If you're wondering what the cake is saying, he's saying, oh yeah. So just a super cool duo there. And, for those that don't know Kurt Hustle Collective, these are some of my, and pray that they play. These are some of my favorite,
Call the Kurt call center right now.
NFTs, period.
Just $1.97 a minute. $2.72 each or a minute.
This came out about 2 years ago. Music's really good. Typically good music. 1-900 1997 900. So
1-900 1997.
So just actually we have more. I have another one. So just wanted to wish the Kurt Hustle Collective. Here's another classic. I think this is from 2 years ago too. Just really, really cool work. Okay, let's... And finally, one more here. Just hilarious. If you've never seen it, that's why I show it, because many people haven't seen this work. So just brilliant. Not so cheap anymore on the market, but brilliant work. Actually, here's another video. So again, just some of my all-time favorite artists there on the blockchain. I discovered from Haiti Rockette's collection, if memory serves. So here's Woso with a new work here. This is January 20th. I thought a brilliant work. I mean, could have started the show with this one easily. Palm trees. Like, I'm not like a huge video art guy. You know, like I never was, but you show me Kurt Hustle Collective, you show me Zwoso, and I go, oh, I really like video art. Like, this is awesome. So yeah, so very cool. 3 Tezos and only 4 have sold. That will sell out though. Edition of 20 on object there. Carnival, I think is what that's called. Canaveral, not sure what that means. Continuing on, Rinnyfish with a new work here. So lots of kind of video-esque work here. So very cool work here from the great Rinnyfish. Interesting music. So this is an edition of 15 and just not listed yet. So cool work here from Rinnyfish, just minted today, I believe. And here is Ratcloak, and this sold for 0.1 ETH. So 0.105 ETH, Black Tizer Rider, handmade with Photoshop brushes. So another very cool painting here. I'm not sure if we looked at this one, but it's pretty cool with the NASA there and everything, the surveillance camera. Like, I don't remember looking at this. Even over here, the picture in the picture here, and this guy on the horse, kind of a classic Ratcloak composition. These great drips and this beautiful landscape here, and even the color scheme kind of reminds me of that St. Christopher work I picked up way back when. Yeah, so just really beautiful work here. Nice sail, beautifully painted here by Ratcloak, Black Tiza River. So congrats on the sale. That went to Temper. And here, a couple more from the Myth in this fabulous boxing series here, Mike Tyson. And I believe this is sold out. I'm not positive, though. And there's a Che Guevara there. And here you can look up close. And a muscular Mike Tyson here. And there, the big gloves. So just a very cool series here. And these are sold out. And then one on secondary from Rorich. Here's 2-pack. Also, this looks sold out as well. One on secondary from Rorich. And here, so the Boxer series continues to do very well here. And some cool tattoos here. And almost reminiscent of that other artist from way back who would do the tattoos like this. Can't remember the name. It's escaping me right now. It'll come back, though, in a future episode. Continuing on, this was also pretty cool. Luca Boni. I thought just a nice, I assume this is a digital painting. Did pretty spectacularly, too. Look at that, 136,000. 136,000 views there. 430 retweets. So this one really hit a nerve. Pretty cool work as well. An interesting color scheme. I mean, it looks like kind of basic color scheme. Kind of a CMYK RGB color scheme. Someone playing a guitar. Interesting composition. Beautifully done there, too, in the wire. Nice. Skyrider. This is Katerina Create here, and another addition to this rider series. And kind of hard to say what kind of animal this is with the here. I'm not sure this is a horse, and I don't see a big tail, and it seems to have 2 heads. So maybe a mythological creature, and almost looking like it's walking through the clouds here. And these great kind of, again, visionary sunflowers here, beautiful, and a cloud ups. Oh, that is the hair that is up there. So nice piece here, Skyrider. This is 30 Tezos, and actually sold for 20 to Dr. Collector. And I don't think we looked at that one. There's a lot coming out on that series. Flora Marquez, who I do follow on my other account there. So has a new series that's coming out, illustrator and comic artist from Argentina. So of course this is Flora Marquez, and these works are all coming out, I think, on Sol. Or here we go. It starts on January 27th. Maybe one a day. You see, the series here starts on the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So one auction a day starting only at 0.07 Sol. So really cool, beautiful series here on Solana from Flora Marquez. Continuing on, this was a work that Artie Hands posted. Big shout out to Artie Hands that I hadn't seen. And I thought pretty cool work here with these kind of retro laptops here. Who is the artist? TACCC Super Rare. So nice find here and cool art, TACC. Interesting piece. Continuing on Ilio Givel, who's also on Super Rare, and we've been looking at Ilio Givel's kind of surreal illustrations here. This was another super interesting one, which looks like brush marks, but with shadows underneath in this landscape. Just an interesting original piece. 58,000 views. So again, Instagram, both Instagram and X are both great options as an artist. Like, Instagram, there was a time on Instagram when it felt like they weren't sharing the money, so to speak, or the glory. Like they really restricted and strangled people's feeds. These days on Instagram, you can grow. It seems to me like they've taken a note out of the playbook of TikTok, is my impression. So still worthwhile Instagram, but X showing it's worthwhile. So just interesting. Probably worthwhile if you don't to have a foot in each one as far as your social media as an artist. Jake Studios, who we started last show with here, Face ID not recognized. Try again in 5 years or die now to reset. So another just super interesting, ambiguous work here from Jake Studios with the cloud, these digital pixelated clouds here in the front on this retro TV. And again, here is the face of this kind of person with a mane. And maybe this is the free person. Their head is trapped in the computer while the free person is outside here. Interestingly, no outlines here. So keeping it interesting here. Digitally drawn animation from Jake Studios. It is at auction right now for 14 Tezos. So that you can still put a bid on. This is RJ on Exchange. So putting out a couple of works here on Exchange. Computer drawings. This sold for half a sol to Kobe Seo. And interesting piece here. This kind of reminds me of I can't remember the name of the artist, but there is an artist who I think on one square, like it's like a diptych, and on one square there's a painting of, let's say, something like an object of some kind, let's say a table. And then on the other side will be a dictionary definition that is basically maybe screen printed or printed out and juxtaposed. So pointing out this different way we consume information, right? So this is how we understand a computer via text. This is how we understand a computer visually. And here is the actual computer. So you might see this to a certain degree as an echo of Magritte's "This is Ceci n'est pas un pipe," right? Or as Magritte called it, "La trahison des images," the treachery of images, right? So enigmatic, powerful title. And again, for people that haven't watched or who are new, with Magritte, an important thing to understand is that the title is a part of the work with Magritte. And so all to say, interesting concept work here and nicely executed as well by RJ here. And here's another very interesting piece here, Corbusier chair and computer. So more references here with this very nice kind of pixelated drawing here, kind of painterly. I'm suspecting this was made with a mouse. This feels like a mouse, as I can even see it just as I'm kind of putting my mouse over top here. Now it looks like a computer in a chair, which is another RJ trope, we might say, with a carpet here. But remember that tweet? And if you didn't see it, RJ put out a tweet, a couple of weeks ago saying, I'm going to try, I've learned a lot this year and I'm going to try something a little different here this year. So This looks like what we're seeing here. Very beautiful work. That also sold for half a sol. I think that went to Yuri J. Yeah, so nice sale there. It's great to sell work, just nice selling the work. Beautiful work here by Dan Control. This is brilliant. Good morning. This is brilliant. I assume this is at Expanded Art here in Berlin. This is brilliant. I mean, you know what this makes me think of is J.G. Ballard, talking about kind of looking at ATM machines anthropologically, right? Like, kind of, again, taking this kind of logic, trying to understand the unconscious narrative behind an ATM machine, for example. And so when Dan, portrays it visually using Dan Control's style, it kind of starts making you think about what this all means. Right. And so really interesting choice of subject matter. Super interesting choice. And even a nice crop here doing the 16 by 9 that he was mentioning in a previous episode, and beautifully executed. So nice work from Dan Control. There's another one here, washer and dryer. And here you see again the 16 by 9. Again, kind of a consumer, there's a bit of a pop feel to both these works. Right? I mean, this is everyday objects that we all deal with. Here's another one, a washer and dryer on top of each other. I mean, I was at an Airbnb the other day, or a couple of months ago, I should say, where this was the exact situation. Washer and dryer, and again, this is on expanded.art, where he has a show right now. Continuing on, this is Ranixdeer, GM. So this is from that new series, I believe, that Ranixdeer has put out, so a new mint here. So a cool, very minimal gradient work there by Ranixdeer. Continuing that great series, and also the great collaboration with MCHX recently as well. So doing a few series there on ETH. Gozo, morning. So this looks like a work in progress, I assume, but not positive. But you see all these great textures here that Gozo works with. I don't know if this has been minted, but you just see, again, like, it's quite interesting when you compare what we see with Element Lee working digitally and then kind of getting and then putting in physically. Here with AI, sometimes like when we see it with Strange Thing, where we're getting physical qualities, textures, but from the other side, from the digital side. So, again, just quite interesting to see because it's beautiful. Right? I mean, because you start getting, what I call the randomness of the physical here, right? Again, like in digital world, you can almost be kind of platonic about it, where these are like perfect shapes. It's a perfect square, a perfect circle. Here in the real world, like this looks a little bit more real worldish, a little bit more physical. Morning from Gozo. This is interesting too. Yuri J vending machine. So kind of looks like maybe Yuri J is going to take over the Tez vending machine, if I had to guess, but not positive on that. Anyway, pretty cool work here as usual. Nice composition, and just, it's getting pretty awesome. All of these textures and everything from Yuri J. It continues to develop there. Plastics from Jimmy. I thought this was an interesting series. Generative artworks. And as you can see here, kind of an interesting, I mean, I should have brought it up, but running short on time, there's Basquiat drawings where you kind of get like it's like almost what I call the sketchbook style, where you put a whole bunch of things kind of juxtaposed, maybe around the same size like you're seeing here. And it just becomes a kind of exercise, sketchbook exercise of sorts, or just an exercise in juxtaposition. So here, you just see how these different, elements or pieces of reality taken out of their context and then juxtaposed again, and then you start to create relationships and just come to a different understanding of what they might mean. It's kind of back to this whole idea, as we were discussing with the ATM in Dan Controls, this idea that there's a manifest content, as Ballard would put it, and a latent content to our visual experience and the way we understand things. It's classic Freudian, is a cigar just a cigar? And in Freudian thinking, generally speaking, A does not equal B. They have a different significance. That's why Dali, Salvador Dali, you'll see, as he says in the Unspeakable Confessions, which I highly recommend, one of his several books. If you want to understand my work, it's hidden in there, 200 pages in. If you want to understand my work, decode, 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 decode. Capital letters. So there you go. So all to say, there's a surrealist element to this series that I quite like from Jimmy. And here's another work, Campfire. I'm wondering if this is an Avalanche ecosystem platform. So not exactly sure. Single edition by Edgar, and not even sure what the price is here. 200 at floor, but I thought a pretty cool work. And kind of a similar color scheme to those last works, so kind of hang well in the same show. Just an interesting painting here by this artist. If I can, I'm not sure I can, there we go. And I think the artist is Veneno. No, that's the name of so here it is, Edgar Fabian Frias. Edgar Fabian Frias. So interesting, some AVAX, you see? So an Avalanche platform. Campfire.exchange, interesting. Here is Don't Buy, and this is called RAM, and maybe playing off of the computer RAM as well as ramming something into someone else or something into each other. I thought a nice piece, nice work here. And you see the Windows XP? Almost looks like Windows XP in the background of this jousting scene. Pretty nice, interesting piece. There is a little bit of AI and digital painting, so a combination, and GIF, of course. Continuing on, Grimoire, with a work here. This is an edition of 3, and this is 25 Tezos. This is 3 editions here. 9 are available, so not exactly sure how that works. Vincent Van Gogh picking up a work there, so going on a big shopping spree this weekend here. So not exactly sure how many are in the collection. Interesting piece here from Grimoire, though. Again, kind of having that kind of AI-looking technology, facial recognition technology, or surveillance technology, and then having a nice kind of surreal figure here with a flower for a head. Himawari, interesting title. This is Demon Ego, and let's see if we have any info here. Just a good night. That looks like the Power Rangers, doesn't it? So nice move there, and interesting, maybe some Star Wars figures, but not sure about that at all. Could be real life people. Kind of looks like Star Wars there, though. Hard to say. Interesting juxtaposition, unified through color, though, as well as through technique of this torn paper. Just more beautiful work from Demon Ego. And this is ADAD. And interestingly, so this is on Super Rare, a list price of 0.26 ETH. And if I can maximize it, let's see if I click on it. Interestingly, you can see there's almost a bit of kind of like video noise, so to speak, kind of video snow, so to speak, on this painting, kind of adding an extra depth to what looks like a physical, or at least partly physical. This looks like physical pencil, but then here, not so sure. So maybe a combination of physical and digital and even video. So interesting work, Enlightenment from ADAD. And this is Turkarak, who does all sorts of interesting scenes of everyday life. And here is a real estate agent, I think, or the estate agent, maybe someone who's in charge after someone passes away. Not sure on that. Just very interesting artist, and as usual, even nice portrayal of the corner of the walls of the room there. Interesting piece from Turkarak. Edition of 1 for 5 Tezos. Good deal there. Goro with a work, and this is just a GM, of course, playing off of that very famous work of, who is it? It is escaping me, not Titan. It is one of the early Greek gods, Saturn devouring one of his sons, which of course was portrayed famously by that great Spanish artist whose name is also escaping me on this Saturday morning, but you all know the painting. Nice interpretation. Here we go again, Seba Sestaro, a voice stuck in my head, so this is interesting. So kind of a slightly more collage feel to the Seba Sestero, who we know, I think, if I remember right, from these great illustrations here. Great illustrations. So here, kind of a bit more of a digital collage feel to it, interestingly. A voice stuck in the head, so beautiful work. Great colors, too. This is Nuv 1914. How are we doing for time? We're doing good. We're doing well. Mariposas, and they look like butterflies, don't they? Kind of again, an edgy portrayal here by Nuv 1914 of the wings, made of many of these gradients here, and then here is the bug, the body of the butterfly here, beautifully done, and then these outrageous gradients, and most outrageous of all, this white line right here on the edge, keeping it interesting. Super interesting. That is a 1 of 1, by the way, and that is 9 Tezos. So very cool there. Let's continue on. Mumble Boy with more digital collage. This just came out. This is 12 Tezos, edition of 1. And here we can see a figure, and it's just a collage, basically. As you see here, interesting cutouts here, different ways of cutting out the shapes here, maybe a little bit of digital paint, perhaps. Looks like maybe some physical, or actually looks like JPEG'd out collage. That almost looks like an audio program back there. You see some edges are sharper than others, right? And it looks like there's also some increasing of the size. How big is this? Might be too much. We'll look another time at how big these are, but I think they're significant, like 4,000 pixels about. Let's continue. Another one, Octo Spider. So these interesting kind of collage figures, edition of 3 for 4 Tezos. Let's see if it opens here. And again, kind of looking like using web imagery to make collage, interestingly, and with maybe a little bit of paint here and there. This one looks like mostly collage, though, doesn't it? So beautiful work from Mumble Boy with an interesting gradient in the background there. Continuing on, One Don't Knows, tap me if you can. So this was done for Punk 6529 meme card. So we don't see a ton of work, or at least I don't see a ton of work from One Don't Knows. I see it kind of maybe once a month we see a work here. And so doing one for the meme card series there. And just another awesome collage artist here. And you see the We're All Gonna Make It, and all of these things, GM, the Ethereum logo, and then yeah, this looks like there is Punk 6529. So all sorts of awesome details in here. As usual, the tattoos and everything. Just an awesome artist here. And look at the big picture here with the cosmic top. A really talented artist here. I can't remember what country out of. I want to say like Indonesia, but not positive on that. Maybe we have information here before we continue to run through this episode. Surrealist collage. So yeah, doing really well. Went to Sotheby's. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with One Don't Knows. Let's continue here. Santiago Ruao. Cool work here. I'm not sure if it's new, but what I kind of love about this, Santiago Ruao does a lot of abstract. This one almost looks like the kind of like an ancient head that you'd see on like almost like Easter Island, but not quite, but made out of these components, these kind of abstract, components that we're kind of used to from the abstracts, like these little circles with gradients in them. So I thought a pretty interesting piece, really cool looking, archaic looking. This was a beautiful work that it was tempting to start with 3 of Pentacles. This is a beautiful work by Manidal, part of the Cat Tarot. Just gorgeous colors here. And there are 2 cats looking off into this constellation here. Beautifully, beautifully done here. Again, I think a great contribution to the whole tarot tradition of depicting these cards. Still available for $6.50. So edition of 10. So nice one there. Stupid Pixel just posting this. Bull market, and there is the bull and someone jumping over it. And then beaming off here, almost like Star Trek. So interesting work. Of course, Stupid Pixel putting out work on Zora a lot in the last few months. That work, there's something to be said for finding your people. And Stupid Pixel has kind of found, I think, a pretty going where Stip and Pixel is rewarded the most is my impression, which is putting these free mints on Zora. This is Dither, fully on chain, by the way. Thinking sometimes the only thing holding you back is you, and 3 colors, and I brought it up. So I want to show this tweet because to show it's on chain and already sold for 0.1 to an anonymous wallet here. So interesting piece here from Dither, who I believe does all those TVs, right? And great colors here too. Again, fully on chain. And again, there's a pretty rich market for fully on-chain work there too. Here's Pinky Blue on exchange.art, and here putting out a pixel artwork here. Again, typically pink and blue. And what's beautiful about this is it's like a night sky where you see the stars going across, beautifully done. And the stars are beautifully portrayed. Everything about it is actually quite beautiful. So that is 5 sol, but after being purchased by Rokun, so that's on secondary. Actually, this is 2 years old. I saw it tweeted. Anyway, beautiful work. 2 years old. Deepa, Kikilo, and I thought this was an interesting work too. I'm not sure if I follow Kikilo, but this, what did it sell for? 10 Tezos. I thought a cool experimental pixel art drawing, edgy colors. Quite like the colors a lot here. And here you see what looks like 2 eyes on a head. And let's just actually look at this. PFPs by Kikilo. So here's the artist. So a new discovery here for me. Just put the follow on here. Oh, and this work here too. Actually, these works were going around a little bit. These were quite interesting. Quite interesting. I almost had put this on. Yeah, very interesting pixelation here. Interesting artwork. Geka Rappa. And what did this sell for? Only 10 Tezos. Nice deal. Continuing on, Bursector on Zora. So this is what? So playing off the meme where everything is fine and the room is on fire. And Bursector, kind of classic. I think putting out quite a bit of work on Zora as well. So a lot of things happening all across many chains here. Sui Soichi. Interesting experimental pixel art work here with what looks like electricity or lightning just kind of crossing this thing, this circle here. Looking like a science experiment. Punks distorted the art dealer. This was pretty cool too. And of course you see X copies, right click and save as guy. And then here, this kind of hooded crypto art figure, really, in the skull and the hood, but done in kind of a ASCII-like style, but not entirely. And nice kind of jagged edges here, and really nicely done, actually, with the artwork itself having all the movement, contrasting with the stillness outside, creating a powerful effect. Here's Braun, back with embroidery number 07. So here you see a little bit of flashing here. And again, almost like curved pixels here, interestingly. So, and look at what these pixels are made of, almost looking like they're made of something of other just interesting kind of patterning, really, is what's going on. So just another interesting abstract here from Braun. It's part of that series. And here's Cello. That's what I thought was a pretty interesting abstract here, too. Some music. So interesting work there. That goes for 40 seconds here. So that is Cello. Millet Salin, I assume. Pixels and Lines, nice title. And here, Lucas Lejeune with another super interesting work. Love the title of this one, Newsfeed. So the scroll, love the movement going, the scroll that we're all too familiar with, the modularity, abstracted into a few lines here on black and white. Brilliant work here. $2.99, edition of 40. Howdy Do, picking one up, Eli Trader. Prosperous Gallery, so selling actually Flux Research. So 24 owners already. How many are left? Selling well here. 11 left, edition of 40, pretty good. And here's another work just listed on X. So putting out all sorts of dazzling animated abstracts here from Lucas Lejeune, kind of semi-abstract. Here is another one from Clint Fulkerson. We've been looking at some of these works, and this was posted on X. So another interesting kind of abstract is what I'd call that. And this is great by Elna Frederick Chandek, and playing off the Spider-Man meme and making us dizzy here. But I thought a nice, this is hilarious too. The Chan up here, leaving this kind of words in here. Just interesting work. Renke putting out a super interesting piece here with this kind of, you almost see like this JPEG'd out red contrasting with this sphere in the middle. It's very interesting when you see people working with those JPEG distortion, what I call JPEG distortions, sometimes called artifacts, and making that work for you. I'll never forget seeing a Jeff Koons painting here at a place called Contemporary Fine Art in Berlin. Before they moved, they had a massive Jeff Koons painting. And what was so interesting about that painting, it was an oil painting, probably made by his team. But what was interesting is there's this flower kind of in the focal point at the top, in the 2/3 the way up. And that flower was kind of JPEG'd out. And then they painted with oil that JPEGization or those JPEG artifacts, again, traveling through the mediums, commenting on our, digital world, or, or digital visual experience, right? So this is interesting when you see that sort of stuff, and nicely done. I mean, just visually effective on a very basic level. Klaus with another beautiful work here, composition number 86. As we start to run through the rest of this episode, just gorgeous color, another beautiful analog kind of video glitchery here. Composition 86 and already sold for 24 Tezos. So continuing to make the sales. This is Ex Mortal, I believe. Let me see. Listing by Ex Mortal. This is 5 Sol on Exchange. Interesting piece here. So more video art on Solana here, and a lot of collectors there, and just a nice kind of big pixels here, kind of a lot to just aesthetically pretty awesome there on that piece by Ex Mortal. And here's Kiro, 0.25 ETH. And this looks like another maybe working off of anime or manga, and then giving it the analog video glitch treatment. Just a nice minimal glitch there. And that is 1/4 of an ETH, part of the Glitched Vision series. And this was a collaboration with Score and Kiro. Let's see if we can make this move. There we go. So interesting combination here. It might be going slower because of my computer, so apologies for that. Yeah, that's my computer. But you kind of get a feel for it. There you go. There we go. So interesting collab here. Always great color too. By, again, Score and Kiro. Digital Calligraphy, cool title, minted 1 day ago. Continuing on, this is Mika Oladev on X, and here we see again some big chunky pixels contrasting with some smaller ones, some moving, some not, just more cool glitchery. Interesting colors there too. Here's Inavare, and this kind of looks like David Bowie to a certain degree, but I'm not positive on that. Really rich textures in here though, if you can see that. Unfortunately, I can't make the GIF bigger. Just beautiful, beautiful textures here from Inavare. Maybe you can see that. So just very interesting. And of course, we like to keep it a family show here, but couldn't pass up these really interesting kind of PFPs of sorts, these punks here from Martin Joe that I thought were quite well done. So these are GLBs here, 50 cents. So pretty hilarious there with the mohawk. Here is another one with a Tezos sign. So keeping it edgy here from Martin Joe, pretty well done, actually. So interesting work there with a big Tezos sign at the top. And this, I believe, is Santiago, formerly known as Napster. I believe this was an AI artwork, but I'm not positive. But look at how great that looks. This really looks like a beautiful painting, actually. So just interesting work here. And this is Tukes here with one on XGM. So never seen this. I don't think we've seen this one before. Kind of looks like the ultimate or a fabulous Airbnb here. On looking over on a beautiful sky on the sea here and this beautiful kind of Mediterranean scene. So as we go into the AI art, Mr. Shapeless, who I haven't seen forever, Maybe has been putting stuff out the whole time and just has been missing my feed here, but just an awesome AI artist. Look at this. So beautiful landscape here, kind of surreal at the back there. Nice snowy scene. And Lily Illo with more chairs, kind of going more three-dimensional on these ones. Let's see if we have any information. Monument, cool title, and interesting kind of square texture at the back here. So beautiful work from Lily Illo. Sky Goodman collaborating with, I thought, was this a collaboration? Maybe not. This is Sky Goodman with what looks like an AI computer, but super processed, as Sky Goodman likes to do. Sky's going to be on a Twitter space in March. Excited to say. So yeah, we'll ask Sky about these works here. Kind of looks like an AI computer though. So again, likes to export through several softwares here. Here's another one. So interesting. See if we have a clue here. Labeling this as simulacra MS-DOS glitch expressionism. So there is a clue here. Look at these great backgrounds here too. This mark making. This very rich mark making. Continuing on, Islay. So piece of cake melt, confetti, cherry on top. Just a very cool, beautifully textured work here from Islay. So a new AI work, which we haven't seen for a while, of a cake. And this is 3 Tezos, and this is there are 9 left. And how are we doing? We're going to have to speed up here. Little Cakes, Gathering of the Chicken Prophets Before Jesus Attempted a Coup. Kind of feels like AI title there. And here is a surreal dinner tea party of sorts here with almost these Max Ernst looking birds here hanging out with a wizard and whatnot. So interesting AI artwork from Little Cakes, having some cake. This is 23 Tezos on edition of 5. And so now that was minted September 10th. So this is an older one, interestingly. I don't think we've seen that one before. And here's No Hygiene. This is a newer one made with Midjourney, this super edgy AI art. And it would be hard to kind of pull this off, but because No Hygiene is so consistently edgy, it kind of creates a credibility, to pull off an image like this. So No Arm, as you see here, made with Midjourney. This is an edition of 1 for 19 Tezos and selling a ton here. And here is No Hygiene's page. So again, pretty edgy AI art, but making a lot of sales here. So as you see here, a lot of it selling. So just very cool to see and putting out tons of work from No Hygiene. This was super interesting. Walk posted this, recently collected via Zora, Pringles Caviar and Champagne by Noah Verrier. And I actually brought up Noah's account here. Nice painting. I think it's a physical. Nice modern still life, isn't it? Beautiful. So here's Noah Verrier, who I do follow. My oil painting of a grilled cheese. I love the modern depiction with a traditional medium. Kind of makes its own contrast here. So beautiful work there. Joao Salazar with a new, very textured work here. Selfie series still in progress. And I think Joao makes the texture first, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't remember. I think uses a lot of paste and I think acrylic paint, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of medium in there. Bobby Cheek Mattia, Lord of the Rings. I thought this was pretty interesting. We've seen a lot of works from this artist who kind of does these, Transformer GoBot type, almost like robot action figure style compositions. This one's called Lord of the Rings, acrylic and marker on canvas. So a nice combination. This was interesting. Michael Pybus. So I eat healthily, but I love fast food. I have the McDonald's app. So pretty hilarious here. Interesting work, playing off of McDonald's and Sonic the Hedgehog. And here, I assume these are works made by Michael Pybus, but not positive on that. So just some McDonald's painting from outside the crypto scene. It's kind of a different take on McDonald's. It's not gallery. So Nalani, and I think the account is heart_rot. So interesting, more spray paint and airbrush work. It's a bit of a trend, isn't it? Albion Works. I thought this was beautiful. We've looked at works by Albion Works before. So here's In the Kitchen. Again, very modern looking, physical, I believe. Just a really nice physical artwork here. And here finally is Eloy Chaperone. Let's see if it shows up. This brilliant work of art here. showing a person that's kind of nestled here in this, if you can see it, in this car, inside car interior. Here's the steering wheel, kind of lodged almost under the seat or on the floor of the car surrealistically, and a little bit of an edgy image there, and there is the car. So again, kind of reminiscent of J.G. Ballard's Crash a little bit here in the imagery. So interesting work by Eloy Chaperone. Thank you everybody for watching through this whirlwind tour here. We're an hour and 15 in, so it all worked out. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care.